afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Moline, and I am lucky enough to be your president and CEO of the Cedar Park Chamber of Commerce. Let's see if I can get, there we go. I think it's gonna work here in a minute. Yeah, y'all can keep clapping. That's fine. There we go. All right, what a great crowd we have. I believe this is our biggest luncheon of the year, so thank you all for attending. If you are an elected official, if you would please stand up right now and be recognized. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Grace Mayoral with Ascension Seton Cedar Park to say a few words.
Thanks, Tony. On behalf of the entire team at Ascension Seton Cedar Park, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this wonderful event. We're honored to be your presenting sponsor here today. My name is Grace Mayoral, and I serve as the Assistant Chief Operating Officer at Ascension Seton Cedar Park. It never gets easier to say it. I have lived in Cedar Park for 3 years now. In fact, tomorrow is actually my 3-year work anniversary, and I moved here just before then. Yeah. So I feel like I can speak with confidence when I say that this city is special, and I think you all agree. As we look at the state of the city, we often focus on economic growth, infrastructure, and quality of life, all of which are thriving at Cedar Park. Our hospital is very similar to the city in that we adapt to the needs of the community. This past year has been one of significant commitment and expansion for us, and adaptation is definitely our word of the year. As most of y'all probably know, our hospital transitioned to the Ascension Seton family of hospitals in 75 days on July 1st of this year. It was a big undertaking. It's still a work in progress. It's not just a name change, it's a multi-million-dollar investment to accelerate growth, enhance technology for patient care, and deepen our commitment to providing the best possible care right here at home in our city. This is a commitment we take very seriously, and what we do is not just a job or a career, it's a calling to serve those who need it. At Ascension Seton, our mission is simple: deliver compassionate, personalized care for all, with special attention to those who are most vulnerable. For us, that means being more than just a hospital, it's being a trusted partner in this community's growth. Cedar Park's story is one of energy, foresight, and strong community, and your hospital, Ascension Seton Cedar Park, is dedicated to ensuring that as the city grows, so do we, and that the health and well-being of every individual in our community is taken care of. When we invest in the health of our people, we invest directly in the future of a great city, the city that I love so much. So thank you again. We're happy to be here and enjoy the rest of the program. Thanks.
All right. I want to thank our December lunch sponsor, Cedar Park Economic Development Corporation. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Thank you to all of our community champions. We've got Cedar Park Economic Development, City of Cedar Park, David McDonald for Williamson County Commissioner Precinct 2, Frost Bank, Garver, LLC, LJA Engineering, O'Connell Robertson, Rabbi Marie Betcher, Texas State Technical College, and Veribank. Let's give them a round of applause as well. And now, congratulations to our November Ambassador of the Month, Victoria Dunlap. Victoria didn't know she was going to get to say a few words.
I just found out about this, so it's not going to be as sweet as your speech, but My name is Victoria Dunlap. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Cedar Park. What I do is I work with employers that are already in Cedar Park to make sure you guys are happy and you want to expand. And anything that we can do to help, I'm essentially your contact person. I can also help with workforce and talent development. That's one of my primary loves in life. So please come see me after this. I want to shout out my team. Woo! The chamber, our amazing council, our city representatives, you guys make me, being here, I grew up here, so I'm just so happy to be here and work here, so thank you.
You can go over there for a picture. All right, congratulations, Victoria. Thank you to our caterers, Shakers Catering at Spare Time, Texas. Let's give them a round of applause for the delicious meal. Thank you to all our renewing members, and thank you to our new members who joined in November. If your name is listed on the new member board, please stand up and be I know some of y'all are here. Stand up. There we go. See, it just takes one. They all decided to be on this side of the room. I don't know about that meeting, but okay. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Jim Penniman-Moran. Jim Penniman-Moran was re-elected mayor of Cedar Park in May 2024 for his second term. He was previously elected to serve on place 1 of the Cedar Park City Council in 2021. Mayor Jim is proud to play a role in continuing the smart and successful growth of our city as a thriving, safe, and inclusive community. Also in his capacity as mayor, he sits on the Transportation Policy Board for the Capital Area Metro Planning Organization, or CAMPO. Jim's legal practice has long focused on advising tech startups, and he currently serves as in-house counsel for an artificial intelligence company headquartered in Austin. There's so much more. Please go and read Mayor Jim's bio. We ran out of ink because he is impressive. But I do want to say we are excited. Jim has 7 children, ages 3 to 23. Jim's wife, Sarah, is a humanitarian aid professional. And please help me welcome Mayor Jim Penniman-Moran.
Thanks, Tony. All right, well, we get this set up. I cut down the bio for this year because we talked about this last year. But thank you, Tony, as always, for the warm intro and this amazing opportunity to update all of you on all the exciting things we have going on in the city. This speech will start and end with people as we try and do. Thanks, Dan. Every time I get a chance to talk, every time your council gets a chance to talk in front of you or think about the city, it's always about people, and I hope that shows today. I want to start, however, with someone who is not here. As many of you know, had the incredibly tragic and untimely loss of Lieutenant Bobby Renengo just this last week. 25-year member of our police department and someone who'll be dearly missed. I'd ask you all for a moment of silence in memory of Bobby. Bobby's untimely and very unexpected death is a reminder that you should never take for granted the people you cherish and the people you love. Of course, that's what the holidays is all about. I hope that's what this speech is all about. But if you take nothing else with you today, I hope you remember that. I'd like to talk a little bit about many of the people who I cherish are in this room, starting off with my colleagues on the City Council. If you guys can stand up as I call your name, Alexis Frezza, Mel Kirkland, Ann Duffy, Eric Boyce, Kevin Harris are all here today. And of course, my long-term members of the council, if we can give them a round of applause, please. You guys always challenge me to think bigger and better and more inclusively, and I appreciate that and everything you do for the city. As you also probably know, Heather Jeffs, of course, was occupying place 6. She, under our resigned to run rules when she decided to offer her talents and abilities to the county, had to resign from office. And so temporarily we've appointed Petri Darby. Petri is, I think, a stranger to almost nobody in this room, involved in our Type A Economic Development Corporation as one of the board members for a long time, extremely active community member, and a executive member and long-term fan and devotee of the Make-A-Wish Foundation for Texas. He is at the executive meeting for that today. But we do have his better half, Shannon Darby, here today, also somebody that we all know and respect. And so that is your council. Now, we also get quite a bit of advice and support from our three boards, our policy-making boards made up of residents like you. If you're a member of P&Z, Type A or Type B, can you please stand? Their contributions and time offered to the city are something that is incredibly valuable. It's a great opportunity for us to kind of also build out our team of leadership in the city. And so if that's something y'all are interested, please reach out. We do have a few openings coming up. All right, all of us as policymakers here in the city are always focused on making this a bigger and better city. The bigger part, frankly, is not something we get to decide at this point. Austin will continue to grow. Central Texas will continue to grow. What we get to decide is how we make that work for us and our residents, both current and future. And that takes patience. It takes a lot of forethought. It takes a lot of strategy. But we continue to thrive and be one of the most successful cities in our region because of that patient growth, that thoughtful growth, and always remembering to keep it centered on our people. And that's the theme for today's speech. Now, the people who really make that happen and who are very much the secret sauce of our city is indeed our city staff. As you may know, we have the longest tenured city manager in the state, Brenda Evans. If you've gotten to work with Brenda, you know that she deserves a round of applause. The culture she has installed in our city staff and the talent she has brought in and our city manager's office, as well as all our department heads, is really, it's really extraordinary. And it's an honor and a pleasure as mayor and a council member to see that, see how she lets them run, empowers them to make decisions, to draw upon their expertise, but also make sure they're ready to work and have dotted their I's and crossed their T's. And so we have listed here all our department managers. We have also the assistant city managers, Chris Koppel, Bo Felgu, and Yoko Matsumoto, who are doing an incredible job. I've known many lawyers in my time. There are a few better than our city attorney, J.P. Lecomte. We, of course, have an amazing police chief in Mike Harmon, and James Malliner, our fire chief as well. So. A couple other special guests I want to recognize. We do have our Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2. Angela Williams is here somewhere. There she is. Thanks, Angela. James Bass, head of CTRMA, the Toll Road King, is here. Always a popular guy, but someone who certainly has done a lot for the successful growth of our region. We have my mother-in-law here, Reverend Becky Robbins Penniman. I figured, I'm glad that she was able to make it. I figured between her and Laura Bala, no matter how bad this speech is, I got two people who will tell me it's great. And so, thank you. All right. Now, looking back, as we started to prepare, I started looking back at some of the prior speeches. You know, we've always tried to use this as an opportunity to remind everybody how much our goals are interlapping and interdependent. We have, this is from a couple of years ago. We talk about how all those things fit together. You can't have a successful public safety without the funds it takes to run that. You can't have successful economic development without safety. You can't have outstanding businesses without outstanding talent living in your city, right? And that where the livability comes in. You can't do all that without fiscal discipline and without spending your dollars wisely and planning well. So we'll go through the kind of 6 general buckets of our strategic goals and in the course of this presentation. And then we'll talk about how that is enabled, that we talked about a couple years ago, to be a place that still has that sense of a small town interconnectedness with global opportunity. Indeed, opportunity that reaches, at this point, beyond the Earth to at least the face of the moon and the stars beyond. Now, you guys know I like talking about the city. I will tell you that one of the things I enjoy most as mayor is hearing other people talk about the city. And as probably many of you also read Pam Dugdale's Cedar Park City Lifestyle magazine. And I don't know if I saw if Jeff Brecht is here today. If he's not, it's like my luck. That's the first time Jeff actually hasn't shown up for a chamber lunch. But when I saw Jeff's quote here, I realized that in those 2 sentences, he's covered everything I intended to cover in last year's speech, as well as this one. And I just really loved how he said, when you have a public library and make national news, you don't get more successful than that. These plans were laid years and years ago, so what's been exciting is watching these things come to fruition. Even more succinct, some of you will remember Nathan Willis from earlier this year at the Cedar Park graduation. Cedar Park has main character energy, and him and Pastor Josh Robinson just had a masterful presentation on behalf of their class at Cedar Park, Leadership Cedar Park. All right, let's talk about infrastructure. We'll talk about our infrastructure, but first we'll start someplace else. Anyone want to guess where this is? And no, it's not Cedar Park in 1973. Any guesses? All right, I'll tell you it is one of 7 hills separated by marshland. I see, yes. Stephen Johnson, he chairs the Type B for a reason. Indeed, that was the original founding hill of Rome, the Capitoline Hill. And within a few hundred years, grew to a city of 1 million that looked like this. And of course, there's a lot of debates, a lot of discussions about one of the things, what made Rome great, what made it so successful. One of the things you almost will never hear is the Cloaca Maxima, the Great Drain or the Great Sewer, which certainly sounds better in Latin. That was that engineering that allowed them to drain what became the Roman Forum and the land between those hills, and really was foundational to the creation of the Rome that the ancient world knew. And of course, you also had more famously, the aqueducts that brought water from hundreds of miles away to Rome and all its other major cities throughout the Roman Empire. Aqueducts engineered without algebra, math done in Roman numerals, and just the incredible painstaking work. But because what the Romans knew is that if you control water, you control your destiny. And that is something that is just as true in Central Texas today, and something that we'll talk a little more about. But first, I do want to note that no public funds were used, and my wife and I's trip to Rome, she was not interested in taking a picture at the Great Drain or Great Sewer. I was able to convince her to do a bike ride out to the aqueducts, and so thanks for letting me show you my vacation pictures. All right, so we have our own Cloaca Maxima, you might say, in this project that's actually involved, like so many of our important projects, many, many different partners, as well as the city. There on the right, my right, your left, is the current stormwater drainage pond, kind of close to the hospital. A large project in order to create more valuable commercial land there at Cedar View. We've actually partnered between all those different organizations, had the great help of Ascension Seton to contribute that land as well, so to be able to expand that again, so that we have, as we all know, Central Texas is a land of a perpetual drought punctuated by biblical floods, we need to be ready for those floods. We remembered that tragically this summer. And so that project, incredibly important. I do also want to note that Austin has its own Cloaca Maxima under construction right now under I-35, and Brian Rice and the team at BJE are handling that. And so in terms of bringing water in, as many of you know, we for several years now, along with through BCRUA, have been doing the deep water intake project. We'll pull water from almost the bottom of Lake Travis, ensuring that we have water in the worst conceivable droughts. That will be coming online in the next couple of years, in a very massive project that between us, Cedar Park, Round Rock, and Leander, under the stewardship of Sam Roberts, who's currently leading BCRUA, along with our elected officials, including Anna Mill. Comprehensive water management. We're also looking at our own wastewater. How can we treat that better? How can we reuse more of it? We currently have a project to start revamping our wastewater. Ankita Jain and the Garver team working on that. Glad to have you guys here tonight, and I appreciate your hard work on that project. And so that will be something that, not so much on this phase of it, but in future phases, looking at where we can reuse more of our wastewater, most likely at irrigation of our parks, but everything that we can do to be smarter about how we use and reuse our water is going to put our future generations in better stead. Of course, some of that involves being smarter about how we use our water, and I've been really proud of the work that the city staff has done in promoting water conservation. Of course, we have a lot of great technologies to do that. I'm not sure if we end up getting Humphrey here today. Okay, Humphrey is going to be out front, which is, I guess he's not animatronic, he's AI enabled, but there to help educate people on especially young people, on what they can do to conserve more water. One more last kind of infrastructure update. The Joint Public Safety Training Center, currently under construction, expect to be done this spring. This is one funded by your 2022 bonds, but a large public safety training facility will enable police and fire to train that much better in the city and really provide them the facility that they deserve. Very few things here in Cedar Park happen without people recognizing just how much we appreciate our first responders, particularly our police, fire, and also our emergency response team that John Cummins leads. As you may know, as hopefully you're bragging about to your friends and relatives, we were named by Smart Asset the safest suburb of Austin, the safest city in Central Texas. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you train the right people, you hire the right people, you build cultures in organizations, and that is something we continue to work on expanding as our city, particularly the commercial side of it and the retail side of it, grows. In this year's budget, funds are approved by your city council to hire 3 new firefighters, 2 new police officers, add in a rescue swimmer program, as well as public safety administrative assistant to help make sure that cops are out doing what they need to do and not paperwork. That continuing growth of our professional staff, I think, is also, it's what's really, they're not cheap, right? You hire good people, you got to pay good people well. But we've managed to do that while still, at this point now, lowering to the second lowest tax rate in the region, just a hair above Georgetown, and boy, wouldn't we like their impact fees. And so as you see, this shows how our rates have dropped over the years. Of course, all of you will say, hey, that doesn't mean my tax bill dropped, right? Well, you're welcome for your home value increasing. And certainly that's the right direction, right? Inflation hits the city just as much as it hits everybody else, often more so because of how much concrete we have to buy and how much staff we have to hire. But that fiscal discipline and commitment to making sure as many of your dollars get back to you as possible is something that has really characterized our city council and staff for many, many years. Recognized, by Standard & Poor's and the rating agencies several years ago, and we achieved a AAA bond rating, which is basically equivalent to having a 900 credit score, if you were to kind of make an analogy. It's not something easy. It's something that only, at the time at least, it was only 20 cities in Texas had achieved. That was reaffirmed just a few months ago, and in fact, I understand it was somewhat humorous as our staff kind of explained to the rating agency just how this worked. And so we continue to celebrate that success and the fiscal discipline and hard work that took us to get there. Thank you. Also, I just want to remind everybody that I had brown hair when I took this gig. So, now how do we do that, right? We do it by growth, both in values, but also adding new properties, new businesses. We do it by discipline, but also innovative approaches to government, right? It is very important and very much appreciated by me and every other member of your city council that we have a city staff and leadership that are as innovative as our residents. Of course, so many of the people in our city innovate for a living, whether they're doing that at Apple, or they're doing it at Facebook or Dell or Firefly, of course. But that same approach is something that your city staff takes to heart. It's not something, it is not for us as council members, right, to tell staff how to do their job better. They're the experts. But what we always try and do is make sure that they know they have the leeway to figure out ways to do their job better. And you see that, of course, with Humphrey, but also I think one of my most proud moments in my whole time on city council is when Chief Harmon approached us with this idea about a mental health unit and a partnership with Bluebonnet Trails, mental health, and thinking about how they could do their job better. Our streets facilities, the streets department uses innovative pavement methods, particularly on like 1431, where we had problems with being slippery all the time. Our fire department really pioneered and led throughout the region the movement to an auto aid system. That sure came in handy when we had our wildfire and needed departments from across the region, 17 agencies actually, to come help and support us. And so that approach is something that I think really helps you get more bang for your buck when it comes to this city, and just grateful for our team and how they do that. Also, in how they therefore allow us to continue to expand that sense, livability and sense of place that I think increasingly characterizes our city. It'll be very exciting in the next couple of months to open the Recreate facility. Our old library has been transformed, as you'll see, into a place where you have meetings for a wide variety of organizations, even birthday parties for kids. It's going to be a great facility with wide utility and just offer another set of gathering places, which I think we all agree is somewhat in short supply in our city, particularly for all our vibrant nonprofits. Also, we have our Parks Master Plan that was worked on last year and continues to be approved. A lot of voter and citizen input on that, and looking at how we enhance and improve our parks for years to come. Lakeline Phase 2 in particular is that specific plan is under development right now, and they're starting their public education about what we're thinking about there. But one of the feedback we got from so many of our residents is just real desire for more outdoor programming, more immersive nature experiences, public art and performance spaces. And so I think that's what you'll see in that second phase of Lakeline Park. And of course, all of us continue to be very excited about the Bell District. Record attendance at our library in its new library in its first year of existence. Record attendance at the farmers market. And so as that area continues to get really activated and exciting, I think we should be seeing some more progress in the Bell District, which for those of you who are kind of newer, is really our new downtown, the first ever real downtown for Cedar Park. And that in turn will help us continue to grow not only your businesses, but also all our businesses and maintain that economic vitality that frankly funds all of this. And so we had some exciting developments this year. I was really proud how many chamber members came out for the ribbon cutting for Element USA, which takes basically old toxic waste dumps and recycles from that the rare earth minerals that are used in so many of our modern batteries and technologies. And so that's important national security development, but also I just remember how the CEO was talking actually with his board, and we're kind of standing there before, and they're like, man, you should see the resumes we're getting. So it pays to be in Cedar Park because of the amazing, talented people that we have here. That is, of course, what's driving Live Oak and the development of Cedar Tech and the various large offices and flex space you see being built to our immediate south here on Scottsdale. Having that space available has allowed Arthur and our amazing economic development team to bring in Novus, who have their surgical training center under development here, bringing doctors from all around the country and the world on the latest surgical techniques with their devices. And of course, I think we're all very, very aware and proud of what an amazing year Firefly Aerospace had, a company that came here with 4 people and now employs several thousand locally and across the country. Landed on the moon earlier this year and stayed upright. No one's from Houston here, hopefully, because that was a shot. Sorry. And also went public, right? Our first IPO of a homegrown company, and so we look forward to seeing a lot more of those. But also in this coming year, of course, all of you, probably got here on New Hope. You've all seen how much work is being done in the Cedar View development. Please don't look while you're driving, but next time your spouse is driving, or your partner, take a peek and you'll see the Marriott Hotel and Convention Center taking shape. We had the topping out ceremony for that about a month ago. A couple other things about the Quarry and Perfect Game. We'll talk about Perfect Game in a minute. The Quarry, still several years away. Obviously, we got a lot going on already, but also trying to, as we reclaim the Quarry and do the investments that needed there to make that viable for development, we are getting to a point where we start kicking around some ideas and peeking around the corner about what that might be and what opportunities that might bring to our city. And so stay tuned to that, but it's going to be really exciting, and it's not going to be Six Flags. And so there you see this kind of different view of Cedar View, and particularly the NFM store. And I think some of you have talked about how, like, if you haven't been to one of those, it's hard to understand just how big it is. It looks a lot like the warehouse at the end of the original Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, it just goes and goes. So you can see what an incredible opportunity that is, and just how much sales tax dollars we hope to get from there. Convention Center also, that will have about a little over 50,000 square feet of convention center space. The Chamber will no longer need to have our gala in Pflugerville, But we'll also bring so many other visitors and businesses to celebrate, gather, and collaborate in our city. And so, of course, we talked about NFM, looking at probably 2027 for that opening. That will actually, it's so large it takes several months to stock after the building itself is built. I'm very optimistic, and it looks like Scheels, which is for sporting goods, what NFM is for furniture. Picture a sporting goods store so big it has a Ferris wheel in it, and that should be open in time for next year's Christmas shopping. Perfect Game, still looking for a couple years out, but still a great opportunity for our city, something that will, again, bring maybe as much as 750,000 visitors to the city. It's kind of foremost scouting organization for professional baseball, and having finally become a softball travel team parent, I will tell you, people shell out some money, and I'll be glad to, hopefully have one of my kids there instead of spending money in Waco, as much as that was lovely. All right, none of that matters if you can't get around. And one of the things that we did a few years ago was combined all our different plans together. We had a trails plan, we had a roads plan, and we combined that, a parks plan, and so all that into one master mobility plan. Of course, many of you served on that committee. The advisory committee was chaired by our own Tony Moline. And they came up with a lot of great recommendations, and that the city has been working very hard to implement in these past few years. Expanding our trail networks, some of that, of course, using the shared use paths along 183A, and those, as that expands, We did the ribbon cutting earlier this year for the North Fork of the Brushy Creek Trail. And it is so important not just to create more recreation opportunities, not just to give another way for people to move around the city and reduce congestion, but ultimately all that is about connecting people, maximizing the opportunities to connect with each other. And so we're excited to have progress on that, exciting progress as well, a very, very long overdue progress, something that's been envisioned for decades in terms of finally adding the frontage roads along 183. Thank you, James, for your cooperation on that. Don't anybody tell Tifia that he was here smiling about that. But sorry, a little inside transportation finance joke. So also, the extension of 183A all the way up to 29 has continued to bring more shoppers into our city. And in addition to that, we have the Toro Grande Boulevard roadway improvements projects. That is widening the existing part up to 4 lanes, as well as we broke ground about a month ago on extending that south of 1431, kind of looping to Palmer. That will take some pressure off the intersection, give you a little way to move around the city, but more importantly, open up some more of that land to development. And we're really excited to see what kind of corporate headquarters and exciting developments Arthur brings for that. And so, no pressure, Arthur. New Hope also continue to expand and improve that intersection, another high-capacity, innovative intersection there at 183A. A lot of you, whether you knew it or not, we're slogged your way through that on the way here, but we'll continue to see progress on that. Finally, one of the other recommendations put forward by the Master Mobility Plan was do a microtransit pilot project. Something a lot of the other cities in the area have done, Kyle, Georgetown, Pflugerville, amongst others, to where the city, instead of kind of your classic fixed route public transit, helps subsidize essentially like an Uber, a rideshare program for travel point to point within the city. And that's something your council will vote on, I believe, next week, certainly very soon. It's something that I think is really important and overdue, and I'll tell you a story that I think about every time this comes up. When I first moved to Central Texas, I was working downtown, and I used to take the Red Line in, and so this is probably about 5 years ago, very shortly before the pandemic, that I was going downtown for meetings and be there all day, didn't feel like paying for parking. That's before I had my Bronze Star plates. And so, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, he knows I'm laughing. And so, so I took the train down, and I was sitting next to this woman. She's a little elderly, pretty clearly disabled. And we got to talking, as sometimes you do, and told me how, she lived immediately across the street from the McDonald's she worked at. That had been taken offline for pretty heavy renovations, and she was a valued employee. So they made sure there was another McDonald's for her to work at while it was down. But this happened to be downtown, and so she described to me the incredible challenge she had in just getting to the train station so that I could get her down on the Red Line. And it was extremely hard for her to get there. You could tell she wasn't able to drive. And it dawned on me that the only reason this woman had this problem is because she lived in Cedar Park. And that didn't sit right with me. And then we also have other people and challenges in our city. We had some news articles earlier this year about a young lady whose mother was disabled, but she was not. And so therefore she wasn't eligible for special bus accommodations by Lander ISD. And so she was really struggling to be able to get to Cedar Park High School. And I was extremely grateful that Toyota Cedar Park more or less gave her mother a car to make that possible. That is not a long-term solution. You will continue to have problems. You will continue to have people who have that challenge. And so one of the things this microtransit pilot will do is for people who have real trouble moving around the city, it will give them that opportunity. And we'll have special vehicles for disabled access. But then the question kind of also becomes, well, is it something that should be open to everybody? And should it be open 24/7 or just maybe 9 to 5? And there were a couple of numbers that spoke to me when it came to this. 1,053 people died on Texas roads last year where a driver was under the influence of alcohol. That's 25% of all fatalities across the street, across the state. The most dangerous hour to drive in Texas is Sunday morning from between 2 and 3 a.m. And what we realized in running the preliminary numbers as in response to the outreach we had to the various service providers is that the additional cost of opening this up to everybody, a certain limited number of rides, subsidized rides, if you're kind of in the general population, like most of us. But the actual incremental cost from taking that from just a program that it was limited to people with demonstrable special needs or financial constraints, so 50 cents per resident is a difference. So I think that's a good investment, but all of us in the City Council recognize this is a really important decision that we'll be making. If you like what you're hearing, we'd love to hear from you. If you don't, keep it to yourself. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to us on the City Council. You know, we've given it a lot of thought. The staff has spent years preparing this proposal. It's not something we're rushing into, but it is a big decision, and we want to make sure we get it right. So we appreciate your input and feedback on that. A couple other projects that we think will cement our place as the marquee city of Central Texas. One is the pedestrian bridge you see here. That will connect Lakeline Park with the Twin Lakes YMCA, and that parkland there, and the Brushy Creek Trail. That will improve safety. It will improve connectivity. But I think we're also very excited about just how beautiful a bridge that will be right there at our southern doorstep. It's a way of letting people know that you're now in Cedar Park, a place that does things just a little differently. And that's currently in design and permitting. We hope the design phase to be done by this coming summer. And then in 2027, hoping for construction completion. Of course, a lot of that is dependent on budgets and making sure that we continue to steward those funds carefully. The Arts Collective, also another idea that we've been working on for several years, including a recent feasibility study. This, as currently envisioned, include a 300 to 500 seat amphitheater, flexible art classrooms, a gallery, rentable multi-purpose rooms, as well as a number of informal gathering places, both indoors and outdoors. Again, really creating an iconic place and a unique place here in Cedar Park, something that no other city has. The timing for that, probably several years away, as you see the Gantt chart there. Again, making sure that we're doing our homework and patiently investing, as well as planning to make sure that when that does come about, it's maximizing your tax dollars. One of the things I've learned, you hear the old joke about how everyone else's kids grew up faster. Well, and being on city council, I've learned everyone else's cities grow up faster. And so some of these projects have been years in the works. They will continue to be years in the works. And that's because the city lives forever. So every investment we make, every shovel we turn, we know that we're making commitments for generations in the valuable space that we have. The city will never be larger in terms of its landmass. We're, as they say, landlocked. So we make the most of it. But that patience is something that continues to pay off in all the rankings and accolades we get. And it's something that, we often remind ourselves, right, that Rome itself was not built in a day. And, but I think it's also really important to ask ourselves what made Rome great and what did make it not so great. And, and what did it forget? If you go to Rome today, you'll see all over, even on their manhole covers, these initials, SPQR. For 1,000 years, that was tattooed on every Roman legionnaire. Stands for Senatus Populus Quo Romanus, Senate and people of Rome. In its great days, Rome remembered that it was about its people. And over years and the centuries went by, they started to forget that. It became just a slogan, something to have, here and there. But as greed and distrust and petty jealousies started to overcome its leaders, was when Rome began to fall into decline. It forgot that it was about people. And one of the things that I'm extremely grateful for, as my conversations with your fellow council members, the conversations with all of you, is that we all remember that a city is not a collection of buildings, form factors, pipes, or streets. It's not aqueducts, not amphitheaters. A city is a collection of people. A great city is a place where the people have genuine trust and meaningful connection. That enables truly valuable and memorable collaborations. Where those collaborations are a company that takes you to the moon, an amazing scout troop, or a family picnic at Lakeline Park. Your city is there to help facilitate that collaboration because we know amazing things have and will continue to happen because of them. And so I think what a really great city looks like is all of you. And so, thank you. I think I successfully used up all my time in order to avoid questions. And so, but thank you, Tony, and thank you all for your attention today. As you know, your city council is always available and eager to answer any questions you have or hear ideas you have. So, thanks again.